Incitements toward violence by right-wingers just keep getting worse, more intense. And the latest example comes from Marjorie Greene, who of course is a repeat offender. Now, while speaking to Sebastian Gorka, she suggested that the Second Amendment rights of Americans are specifically meant to protect the country against what we're experiencing from Democrats. Now, before we get to her suggestion to maybe utilize our Second Amendment rights in a way that would be incredibly dangerous and does in fact incite violence, let's give you a little context so you can understand what was motivating that commentary. This is what she had to say about Democrats and what they're allegedly doing to gun rights.
They're coming for our guns and for our civil rights, are they not?
Oh, of course they are. As a matter of fact, Stacey Abrams, who is running for governor for the second time in Georgia, in her announcement speech, after she said that she would pursue aggressive vaccinations of Georgians, the next thing she talked about was grabbing people's guns. She hates Georgia's Second Amendment rights. She wants to stop constitutional carry, which is exactly what our state legislators and our governor should be pursuing right now. They should be passing it and signing it into law. But yeah, no, Democrats, they hate our Second Amendment.
No one is grabbing anyone's guns. We are more armed than ever. Gun violence continues to skyrocket. On one hand, you have these Republican lawmakers claiming that, oh my God, there's so much violent crime, which is enabled by the lax gun policies we have in place. But look, let's just be clear about this. We ain't ever doing anything about guns, ever, 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 okay? And Stacey Abrams has not said that she wants to grab everyone's guns. She hasn't said that, and she's never gonna do that. It's just the fact, and they know, like Marjorie Greene knows, all these Republican lawmakers know, they rely on the politics of fear to rile up their base. And it's dangerous and reckless when you consider the second half of what she had to say. So let's take a quick look at that, John, and then I wanna hear your thoughts.
Ultimately, the truth is, it's our Second Amendment rights, our right to bear arms, that protect Americans and give us the ability to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government. And I hate to use this language, but Democrats, they're doing exactly what our founders talked about when they gave us these precious rights that we have.
So she's suggesting that the very purpose of Second Amendment rights is to respond to what Democrats are doing right now. Because John, Democrats are so tyrannical.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So much tyranny.
Well, that's definitely true. That's at least as true as her hating using that sort of language, as she says. Yes, she hates to imply that it might soon be time to start shooting your political opponents. There's nothing she hates more than talking about that all the time with Steve Bannon. Yeah, the Democrats are tyrannical. Look at Joe Biden. I mean, in just the last year, he passed a little bit of minor additional stimulus, and then they did the bipartisan infrastructure bill,
corporate handout bill.
That's yeah, and that's
it.
I think there was a hate crime bill at one point, and other than that, that's pretty much it. But it's always tyranny. And they're always coming for your guns, even though they have been saying that every single year for literally decades. When is it gonna happen? When do they start busting down doors and getting guns? It never happens, but they will always be afraid of it. And they will always be made to be afraid of it so that they never look and take stock at the state of their life and their ability to own a home and their ability to retire and their ability to manage some sort of like terrible medical situation that might bankrupt them. They are on economic thin ice, but they're not looking at the ice. They're just looking at guns and worrying that people are gonna come for them. Or they're worrying that someone might ask them to wear a mask, or that some Dr. Seuss book they've never read will no longer be available to them. They're made to be distracted by those things so that they will never ask why politicians like Marjorie Greene are not talking about the actual economic issues that affect the quality of their life.
Oh, you're so right about that. That's my favorite point, because I think that the perspective that you just shared can be applied to every major issue in the country right now. Everything turns into an orchestrated distraction away from the failures of the very people engaging in this kind of discourse. So what has Marjorie Greene done for her constituents? Nothing, other than riling them up with all this fear mongering about how Democrats are trying to take their guns away. Let's just also address that the only time Joe Biden has addressed gun violence in the country was when he called for a commission to study gun violence. Wow, ooh. I don't even know if that commission came about. Probably not. It's just more lip service, right? It's like, oh God, I don't. These Democrats, these voters are like, you gotta do something about gun violence. I am calling for a commission to study gun violence as if we don't know how bad gun violence is. I mean, it's ridiculous to refer to Democrats as tyrannical. They're weak and feckless. We have a branded segment called The Dumb and the Feckless that's dedicated to Democrats because they're dumb and feckless.
Yep. Yeah. And Marjorie Greene, don't pretend you don't know about The Dumb and the Feckless. You know about that branded segment. No, you're totally right. And look, it would be bad enough if Marjorie Greene was just like virtually every Republican politician, say 8 years ago, that was also saying they're gonna take your guns and socialism this and communism that. The exact content of the distraction changes a little bit, but it's designed to make sure that nothing passes federally that costs money that requires taxes to go up. That would be bad enough. But when it's coupled with the new part of the GOP that she is a part of, which is increased willingness to use violence against your political opponents and an even harsher willingness to strip away people's right to vote, it is worse than just intransigence. They are stripping away the ability of our democracy to function and people to actually survive in it.
That's exactly right. And it's meant to intimidate people. I mean, when you know that there's increased political violence in the country, when you know that we're swimming in a sea of guns, when we see right-wing extremism playing out in various cases, whether it's a mass shooting at a Walmart in El Paso, or what we saw in the Capitol on January 6th, the emergence of more and more of these right-wing militias, this is a very real threat, and they're emboldened by the rhetoric that comes from, honestly, idiots like Marjorie Greene.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.